Did you know that Fauci and the NIH approve billions of taxpayers' money in grants to pharmaceutical corporations and then receive millions in royalty payments from said companies? This is a classic problem of letting the fox guard the henhouse. Talking about going to hell in a handbasket, we are living in times where a football coach was fired for simply taking a knee and praying after every game, win or lose, to thank God for the opportunity to be there. Okay, my friends, let's do what we do every night and take a closer look together.
If you're a public servant, you don't do it because you want to make money. You don't do it for the glory. You do it because you care.
God help us.
In the late 1880s, the National Institute of Health, NIH, was established with the objective to conduct intensive research and identify solutions to one of the dangerous diseases such as AIDS, cancer, and of course, the coronavirus. However, since it became part of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, it seems they are turning more into a profit-making organization with rules of their own. And when the infamous Dr. Anthony Fauci joined NIH in 1968, the agency started assuming more powers without even being authorized to do so. Fauci doesn't care when the judge makes decisions against his recommendations. Fauci doesn't care when the people criticize him for imposing unacceptable COVID measures. And now Fauci again does not care when he is being questioned by the authorities regarding the millions in royalty payments the NIH has received. He openly declared in a 2005 article that he donated all his royalty payments to charity. So the question you must be asking is, how much money are we talking about here? Well, between 2010 and 2020, the NIH has received $350 million in royalty payments. To be fair, Fauci did not receive all that money. It was divided between 1,700 NIH scientists, and Fauci has received the most and is the top profiting-making scientist among them. This astonishing discovery came into picture when nonprofit organization Open the Books dragged NIH to court under the Freedom of Information Act to provide relevant documents of the last decade. When the organization studied the documents, they were astonished to find 22,100 royalty payments totaling $134 million to 1,700 NIH scientists who were credited for being a co-inventor. Surprisingly, all of these payments were made by unknown individuals to unknown scientists of NIH within the period of September 2009 to September 2014. As the federal lawsuit versus NIH is in progress, the NIH representatives admitted in the court that they have 3,000 pages with details of all royalty payments received since 2009. However, the agency has only provided 1,200 pages to the court. The rest of the 1,800 pages that consist of royalty payments from the year 2015 to 2020 are still held up tightly by the agency. Furthermore, the documents only showed the number of payments received by the scientists, but how much money was paid to them was intentionally deleted by the agency while submitting the documents. For example, Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NIAID, Anthony Fauci, received 23 royalty payments. NIH Director Francis Collins received 14 payments between the years 2009 to 2021. And Fauci's deputy at NIAID received 8 payments in total, which brings us to the conclusion that Fauci is the one who not only received the highest amount of payment, but also has a leading role in this discovery. And when the question was raised against NIH about unexplainable payments, they simply refuse to acknowledge these discoveries by assuming no one has the right to question them.
You can't take everything seriously because then you'll start thinking that you're something that you're not. It's nothing personal, it's strictly business.
If we rewind back to 2005, which is the same year when Fauci declared that he donated all his royalties to charity, the Associated Press company managed to bring forward the entire royalty database of NIH by exercising the power of the Freedom of Information Act. Soon they discovered that around 900 scientists of NIH received around $9 million in royalties. And out of those 900, 51 scientists were already being paid for conducting experiments to bring an invention to the public. Not to forget, among those 51 scientists, Anthony Fauci was also included. Now, fast forwarding to the recent hearing between Dr. Lawrence Tabak, who became the director of NIH in December 2021, and Representative John Moolenaar, it should be noted that Dr. Tabak openly accepted as well as expressed serious concerns about the undisclosed royalty payments of around $350 million to the scientists of NIH. Dr. Tabak also expressed that federal law allows NIH to have royalty payments, but the way these massive amounts are received by the scientists without disclosing the source makes it look unethical. While questioning the credibility of NIH, Representative John Moolenaar, right now, I think the NIH has credibility problems. And this only feeds into this, and I am only just learning about this. You may have very sound scientific reasons for recommending a medicine or not, but the idea that people get a financial benefit from certain research that's been done and grants that were awarded, that is to me the height of the appearance of a conflict of interest. Representative Neil Dunn, who also a surgeon, further stressed that it's no secret that the agency needs reform. Their many issues were exacerbated and highlighted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Providing the public with transparent access to how the NIH is spending taxpayers' dollars and reaching their decisions is a basic responsibility, and they must be held accountable. Now, more than ever, we must commit to reforming our federal health agencies and restoring America's trust in public health. And the founder of Open the Books organization, Andrew Jajewski, who helped in bringing this issue forward, said, with tens of billions of dollars in grant making at NIH and tens of millions of royalty dollars from third-party payers flowing back into the agency each year, NIH needs to come clean with American people and open the books. We need to be able to follow the money. We believe transparency will revolutionize U.S. public policy. There is no better example of this than third-party, think pharmaceutical companies, payments to NIH scientists. Every single outset payment to a government scientist could be a conflict of interest.
Lord, I'd like to lift up these guys for coming out here today.
A prayer at the 50-yard line in full view of a public school community.
It was my covenant between me and God that after every game, win or lose, I'm going to do it right there on the field of battle.
For years, Bremerton assistant football coach Joe Kennedy took a knee in quiet prayer with little notice. But over time, a private act grew into a public spectacle. The school district telling Kennedy in 2015 that separation of church and state meant he could no longer pray with players and keep his job.
So you're not allowed to pray before a football game. I thought it was horrible.
From working more than 20 years in the Marines to taking the stand to protect the First Amendment of our Constitution, Joe Kennedy, who was fired as a high school football coach for praying in the middle of the football field, has now decided to take his case directly to the Supreme Court to set an example for his students to stand up and fight for what is right to the end. The story of the super coach began when he retired from the Marines in 2006 and landed a job as a football coach at a high school in Birmingham, Washington State. As he was not experienced in coaching the students, he began learning the tactics by watching a football-based movie, Facing the Giants, in which a Christian high school football coach uses his faith to help a losing team achieve impossible results. After being inspired by the movie, Joe began praying for 22 to 27 seconds in the middle of the football field after every single game. Irrespective of whether his team won or not, he said, "I just take a knee and thank God for the opportunity to be out there and for what those young men just did." And that went on for years before anybody even said a word. Feeling inspired by Joe's actions, soon the students as well as every opposing team joined him in the last year of his coaching. However, everything changed when an educator from another school district complimented the principal after watching the opposing team as well as Joe's team praying together at the end of the game. The next day, that same principal directed Joe to either wait for all students and fans to leave or pray in a school building located behind two fields. Feeling stuck between choosing his faith and his job, Joe defied the unacceptable instructions of the school and started praying alone on the field after the games, which eventually resulted in him getting fired by the school authorities. As the First Amendment of the Constitution guarantees that Congress shall not make any law that takes away the right to free exercise of religion, Joe filed an appeal at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit after a district court ruled in favor of the school. Attorney Jeremy Dies, who represents Joe, argued, "The law and the Constitution protect the rights of American citizens to be able to speak about their faith and even be people of faith while even they are on the job. And so when that is denied to people like Coach Kennedy, we lose a very significant part of our freedom." With respect to the direction given by the principal to exercise his prayer in a school building located behind 2 fields, he said the Civil Rights Act of 1964 requires school districts to accommodate Kennedy's religious beliefs, but the accommodation that is offered by the school, that's not an accommodation that is reasonable under the circumstances, nor should anybody be required to go hardly out of their way to be able to follow the dictates of the religion. Surprisingly, Joe's appeal was rejected by the Court of Appeals, because of which he has declared that he will take this case to the Supreme Court for the final decision. However, the school, after applauding the court's decision, stated, "The Ninth Circuit made the right call. The Bremerton School District was correct to protect the religious freedom of its students and their families. The Constitution requires public schools to provide an inclusive and welcoming environment for all students. That includes ensuring that student athletes don't feel compelled to pray or participate in religious activities to secure their place on a team." While recently attending the Fox and Friends show virtually, Joe stated, "Stand up for your faith, and hopefully we won't have to have anybody else choose between their faith and their job. This was a fight that hit me from every single angle. I can't think of a stronger example for these young men to be able to stand up and fight for what is right."
Yeah, and the hypocrisy from the left is really unbelievable. I mean, here we have the White House encouraging people to go out and to engage in what amounts to harassment, which, by the way, is illegal. Federal law says that you cannot picket or protest or harass justices with the purpose of trying to change their vote in a case. And that's exactly what they are doing.
What these protesters are doing is they are assaulting that concept. They are coming to people's homes at night with bullhorns. They came up on our porch and screamed, "Come out, come out." And that, frankly, is terrifying. To have young children in the home at the time would have been awful. So I'm thankful that our young boys were not home at the time, but Abigail and I were. And it's just really an assault on the American family and on the institution of the Supreme Court.
We have not seen violence or vandalism against Supreme Court justices.
After witnessing the unacceptable behavior of the radical pro-abortion activists since the leak of the overturning of Roe v. Wade case, Senator Josh Hawley has now written an urgent letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland to initiate investigation against these protesters and take sufficient measures to prosecute them for violating the laws. By referring to violent video evidence of the protesters, the senator expressed that no one should be allowed to encourage or motivate the judges to overturn their decision by protesting outside of their homes. A reference was also made to an unnamed individual who tried to target the home of Justice Brett Kavanaugh at least 5 times. By mentioning a legal provision under 18 U.S. Code 1507 that provides imprisonment for up to 1 year for influencing the decision of a judge that later stated that such behavior is not free speech protected under the First Amendment. Furthermore, pro-abortion activists who reportedly destroyed a church in Boulder, Colorado by leaving messages in favor of abortion and attacking organized religion should be punished under 18 U.S. Code 248. Not to forget, the letter heavily condemned the report for firebombing of a pro-life organization in Madison, Wisconsin, where attackers also left a note stating, "If abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either." The senator argued that despite taking all these illegal actions, the citizens have endless legal methods to raise their voice against the leak. However, no such action is taken by anyone. In the end, the letter criticized Biden's Department of Justice for not taking sufficient action against the radical activists, who have committed clear violations of federal law, which shows Biden's administration is only interested in prosecuting its political opponents and demanded from the Attorney General to investigate the matter immediately. And that's it for today, my friends. Now don't forget, please like and share, and most importantly, join our member site and support the mission to deliver truthful information. I'd rather depend on the generosity of you, people I can trust, than ever be dependent on YouTube again. Thank you all for spending time with me. I'll see you next time.